And I can assure you he's an extremely hard-working man, because I'm the one that always gets it in the neck for not when things don't happen right. Okay. Right, so now, Winston McKenzie, one of the famous McKenzie brothers, all ex-champion boxing brothers. They are, in fact, the most belted family in the world. Between the brothers, they have more belts than any other family in the world, which is quite something that's achieved. He's also been a politician for many years now, but he's striking out on his own this time round, hoping to become the next Mayor of London. Things just aren't working right, and he wants to put it right. So, without much ado, here is Winston McKenzie.
Well done, Marianne. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's here today. This latest venture, my latest venture in politics, to become London's next mayor, it's a serious thing. A lot of hard work, a lot of stress, but I'm up for it. I'm an ex-fighter. Today's gathering isn't just about the London mayor. It's about issues that are happening within our communities today. And I think we'd all agree, everyone will agree here, that London, indeed, in fact England, Great Britain, has changed considerably in the last 10, 15, maybe 20 years. 10 years' time, 10 years from now, if the people don't get up and take matters into their own hands, and when I say matters into your own hands, I'm not talking about going out and lynching people. I'm talking about us, the community cohesion. When we look across the pond at America and see and understand how many people have been victimized by the state, governments, even the police force. We now have the bowing of the knee because people are unsure. They're uncertain as how to address the particular situation with regards to police crime on citizens of America, particularly black citizens. My campaign isn't just about black people. My campaign is about the people. It's about the working class poor. That's what's dragged me here today. That's my incentive. That's why I'm standing here. I've got children, and many of you have children, and you want a better future for them. You see people jumping from pillar to post. You see beggars, young children, not old people, but young children sleeping in street corners, in cardboard boxes. And you think, I hope that never happens to my son or my daughter. And you know, the power, the will to change lies with us. It lies with us. We've put people in power, trusted them, and hoped that they would fulfill our dreams. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? We have to fulfill our dreams. We are the people who have the dream, the knowledge, the understanding. We are living a different life from politicians. So I stand here before you today with a dream of becoming London's next mayor. We've had Ken Livingstone, we've had Boris Johnson, and now we've got Khan. Mr. Khan, what are your plans for gun and knife crime and youths, getting them back into employment? He has no idea, because they say Khan can't. That's the strategy that they're using today for Mr. Khan. Politicians are out of touch with people like us. Admittedly, you've got to have mercy. You've got to take some pity on them because they've had a different lifestyle, different upbringing. But we need more of us in there. We need more of us in there. Ordinary people who've lived, toiled, worked, sweat, and understand what it is to do without or to make ends meet. Those are the type of people we need in Parliament. To mix with the intellectuals. I've got nothing against them. Love them. Well, my son's an intellectual. He's so clever. It puts me to shame. But if we cannot communicate, if politicians cannot communicate with ordinary working class people, then we are in fact doomed. So the answers lie with us. They're with us, the people. It's about who we elect. I've been around in politics now for almost 18 years, nearly 19 years, and it's been a struggle. I've been called all sorts of names, idiot, fool, you name it. I joined UKIP. I stayed with UKIP for almost 7 years. Some people said, oh, you bloody Uncle Tom, get out of there. What you doing, blimmin' Uncle Tom? Eh? Thank God I found UKIP. UKIP opened the doors. I got invited to things. I had the chance, the opportunity to get involved in top, run-of-the-mill, top politics. Politics at the very top. Government ministers called me to Parliament. Mr. McKenzie, we're writing the law on gun and knife crime. Could you possibly help us? Certainly I can, sir. They didn't care what my party allegiance was. What they wanted was help. And I learned and I understood that a lot of what we stand for today, a lot of what we put up with is garbage. And it's that way because we have no alternative. It's either Labour or Conservative, or Labour or Conservative. Hey, it's about time you guys woke up. Choose a rebel. Get hold of a rebel. Let's give them a headache. Let's turn it all around. Let's turn it all around. Let us have Labour, Tories, Liberal Democrats. We've heard it all before. And every decade we go back and say, I'm going to vote for you. I'm going to vote for you. Why? Mr. Corbyn's running around now. The greatest showbiz personality you've ever seen. He's running around. There he is outside with all the football crowds. Vote for me, I'm Corbyn. Vote for me. And he's getting all the attention in the world. We know he can't deliver. Yet we vote for him. I put on this conference today just to give a little insight into what could happen. Go to any political conference and sit down and you'll get your promises about the infrastructure, the economy, immigration. You get all your promises. I went, just before Boris Johnson became Mayor of London, I went to a conference he held. He invited all these youths to the conference. Bring your plans, bring your policies. Let me see, let me hear what you want to do. And they ran like little boys and girls with all their plans and their business ideas. And he laughed at them. Nothing was ever going to happen. It was a big joke. At this conference today, I've invited small business people from different walks of life. It's the working class poor and the unemployed who cannot find what it takes to get up and get out there and do something with their lives. Nobody is appealing to them because our politicians, today's politicians, they've never lived that life. They've always been fed the silver spoon. So how can they possibly, if you don't know, how can you possibly teach me if you don't know? This isn't a rebellious campaign. It's an eye-opener. I've gone out and done my best to set an example to others. My family have been involved in boxing and football, and various other sports for some years now. People look at you and they think, oh, there's one of those Mackenzies, they must be loaded and they must be this and that. Bruce Baker, lifelong friend sitting right here, he'll tell you about my finances. I'm on the phone to him every week. Bruce, lend me 50 grand, you know. So, and, you know, poor man's almost going grey with how many times I keep calling him, you know. But it's not easy. And most of you sitting here, when I say it's not easy, you understand exactly what I mean. So yes, I'm running for the office of mayor. Yes, I've been fortunate enough to have the necessary sponsorship that I need this time round. And boy, do you need some money. Politics has cost me a fortune, a small fortune in my time. That's why I'm always skint. That's why I'm always saying to Bruce Baker, lend me a few grand, man. I've got to do something. But as a group, as a team, being united, coming together as a force and helping one another is how you get things done. And I intend to get things done. They asked me, how would you... I was on the phone yesterday, ITV called me, and I said, you're going to cover my conference or what? No. London Live. I said, would you cover my conference? Well, we can't. How? You see, we can't. You talk about gun and knife crime and homelessness are very much at the top of the agenda. I mean, how would you solve them? I said, you see, the thing is, you've just hit the nail on the head there. I'm a community man. I do community projects. I'm in touch with people. I'm in touch with the churches, particularly the black churches, where all my culture go and talk and liaise with one another and speak to the pastor and tell him their troubles and tell him their woes. But what's happened? The funding's been cut from these churches who hold social evenings, take the boys to another place and they play football. They get on. They do things that people of that culture do. They introduce them to boxing clubs. They introduce them to athletics. They introduce them to IT. They study. The funding has been cut. Where would you find the money then? I have other priorities. My priorities are the people, the community. Those are my priorities. We've turned our faces from the Commonwealth and the Caribbean and looked to Europe. And Europe, what have they done? Kicked us in the balls. Get lost. Junkered a lot of them. They've turned around and said, you want us? Want anything from us? You pay for it and pay through the nose. And do you know what? We haven't got a single politician in this country to stand up and say, enough is enough. We are Great Britain. One thing English people tend to forget, and the whole of Britain tend to forget, is that we fought in 2 world wars. My ancestors fought in the Second World War, particularly for this country. You look towards the central London and some of those amazing buildings there, they were built of the blood, sweat and tears of slavery, slaves. So to say I'm not English or I'm not British is a lie. I'm just as English or British as any man, woman or child sitting in this room today. This is my country and I will fight and die for my country. I will give my all for my country. When I stepped into the boxing ring, I gave my all. I considered myself to be British. The only thing I regret was not accepting my England vest, Bruce, when they picked me for England. But we must be proud of our country. We are a multiracial society. Sometimes people get the differences mixed up between multicultural and multiracial. Well, let me tell you something. The cultures aren't blending. There are too many cultures to blend. Multiracial we are. There are different races, different cultures. Some of the cultures we don't understand. I'm not going to base my mayoral strategy on Islam and immigration. Very important aspects of life. Very, very important. But there's a subtle way with which to approach it. And that way is to get on with the people you have before you. Common sense policies. Listen to the people. They're living the life. That's what I say to all politicians today. Listen to the people. They're the ones out there with the experience. They're living a different life from you. You get up from your home and you drive to your office. You're chauffeured, some of you. I won't see you on the underground. So you miss all that in between. But, ladies and gentlemen, as you sit there today, you need to remember one thing. Everyone needs to remember and understand one thing. The power is with you. I'm challenging for the office of Mayor of London because I'm in touch. It's my third time now. I'm in touch with what's going on. And we need a dictator. We need a strong leader. We need someone who believes in England, in London, in Londoners, to get those policies out there. Someone who's not afraid. Someone who's communicating. I've lectured in schools, colleges, universities, all over London. Nobody paid me. I've done it because I like doing that kind of thing. I like getting up to the authorities' nose. I like being told, you're not standing. You're not standing in this mayoral race. You're 1 minute late. You're disqualified. It was a news flash on ITV. That's what happened to me last time. We were 1 minute late and they disqualified me. But I bear no grudges because this time I'm coming to fight. This is the championship. That's why I stand here today and put it to you that you have to look, when it comes to politics, forget the party, forget the system, look at the individuals, look at who's doing what, look at the patriotism. If you can't see it, then help a rebel. And you've got to help this little old rebel here, all of you sitting here today. Right? You won't see another Winston McKenzie, I'm telling you now, because I didn't come through Oxford, Cambridge, and all those universities. I'm an ex-champion boxer. When I was a senior, I won a national amateur title. It's like winning the world title, wasn't it, Bruce? You were there. We were in Manchester. This man has known me all my life. Bruce Baker. He's been like a father to us when we were small. And that cohesion of boys' clubs, activities, that cohesion, the coming together of the youth. I mean, we see the youngsters out there today and you have to feel sorry for them because we, the older ones, are the lucky ones. We got away with it. We got the universities, many of us. We got that great education. A comprehensive education today is on a par with a private school. We used to get all that comprehensive education I had, the after-school clubs, the IT, the arts, the cookery lessons and all those things. They came free. Today you've got to pay for them. You've got to pay for it, and they call it private education. So, what needs to happen in society? The rich and the poor somehow have to communicate. What we're lacking today is communication. The people who have the opportunity to change things are not listening. But I'm not crying. I will not cry. I will not complain. This campaign that I'm setting up now and pushing forth isn't a campaign with animosity and anger. It's about communication. Whether you're black, white, yellow or pink, let's get it on. Let's get moving. Let's make something happen. And that is the concept of our being, to make something happen, to make change. As I said, you'll see in America today, the bowing of the knee has begun because something had to be done. Thank God we haven't got people slaying one another. We're looking at peaceful protest. There are people who called me and said, what's your situation over there in Great Britain? I said, yes, black people are still dying. They've been shot and beaten up in police cells and what have you. But we're not as bad as you. This is still Great Britain. We haven't got to that stage yet. So I say to you today, don't sit on your views and ideas. Find something or some way with which to get your viewpoint over. It's important. It's not about you or I. 10, 15 years, whatever it is from now, none of us will probably be here, right? It's about those coming through. We've lost our way in this country through money, greed, lies, deceit. It's all there. We've experienced it. That's why today I've asked the likes of Mark Prince, Deborah Kelly, people who experience things in life in terms of getting up off the floor, in some cases literally, and making a change. Karen Leo, sitting here right in front of me, came to join us a couple of months ago now, and I was amazed at her efforts and achievements. Many people who should be here today haven't turned up. They'll be here later. But speaking to Karen, I was amazed at her efforts at your efforts to bring up your children almost single-handedly and work and put yourself out there and still trying to make life better for others around her. And that's what we need, that community cohesion. But if it doesn't come from the top, if government, if the people we vote for, if the rates we pay, the finances we give out just to stay alive, just to build nuclear bombs, just to take in masses of other people from all different nations who rightfully in some cases need, I'm an immigrant, I'm proud, they need that help. When we came here back in the 50s, there were jobs. We had to help build this country, Caribbean especially. Tell them I'm not there. Caribbean, especially Caribbean Commonwealth people especially, had to come in and do the jobs that English people wouldn't do. The hospitals, the buses, the underground. We helped build this country. This country can flourish again. It can happen for us all. But if we sell out and continue to go down the same road and be dictated to by the dreaded European Union, then there really is no future for us. Because that word Great Britain will have gone, died for good. Make change. It's up to you. You have the power. And you're continually told that you haven't. They're doing Brexit now. It's not as though we're involved, is it? And I feel a sadness and a solemn sorrow for those for people left behind, the general public, the people who vote for a better life, being let down in the way in which we have. But don't despair. Winston's here. We're going to create... Hello, my dear. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Not too bad. Just talking to the people. So what I'm going to leave you with now is the thought that I have every intention of becoming London's next mayor in 2020. And they say 2020. I've had both my eyes done, both cataracts done, So I've got 20/20 vision. That's what it's all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a short break now. 20-minute coffee break. And after that coffee break, or just before we have the break, I'd like to know if you've got any questions or answers you want to put to me with regards to the mayoral challenge, with regards to London itself, with regards to employment and things like that. Does anyone any questions they'd like to ask me with regards to my mayoral challenge?
Winston, would you like to tell us why you started your campaign 2 years early?
I was forced by the skullduggery of today's mayor. It's beyond words. The animosity and anger I felt after those attacks on Westminster proved to me that we needed a patriotic mayor, a mayor who believed in London, and Londoners know what we stand for. Had that been me as Mayor of London, they would have known, wouldn't have known what hit them. Our mayor stood by whilst a policeman was killed, people were just slain in the street. It's not as though it was his fault. He could do nothing to stop that. He didn't condemn it. He didn't stand up and say, "We are London. We are London. This is what I'm doing about it." And I know what I would have done about it. I know what would have happened had I been mayor at that time. The simple fact was the cuts, the continuous cuts of our police force. It was too late to say, well, we've had a couple of murders in Westminster. Let's cover every doorway. Let's cover every street. These things should have been happening ages ago. But we've pandered to the dreaded European Union, who've stepped in, who we've been paying 50 million a day or more to entertain, and can't even fish in our own waters. We've been dictated to all this time. That's why I'm a Brexiter. I am a Brexiter because Britain must and can control its own borders, make its own laws, and create a future for our children. So we can create a future for our children and our children's children. We do not need to be dictated to. Where has the great gone in Great Britain? Where has it gone? It lies with us. It lies with us. We are here to dictate the situation. But we sleep. We're quiet. We're good old English people. We turn the other cheek. We see other people coming and laying down their laws, laying down their religions, laying down the way they want to live, and we're silent. Not a single politician have I heard stand up and say, enough is enough. Let's return to how we were. Let's return to the days when we traded with the Commonwealth. Let's return to those days. No contracts, no, laying down of policies. Free trade. Free trade. Free trade agreements. Set Britain free. And only you can do that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Where are we going to now?
It's a coffee break now, unless you want to. I think you wanted to talk about the reports that have just come out.
What reports are we talking about?
Just yesterday there were some reports come out about how many people right, well we'll move on from that then.
No, I just wondered what reports we were talking about there. But okay, if anyone has any questions they want to ask me, we've got.
What you say about the funding for the police in London, when the Westminster Bridge attack took place,
Yes.
it was pure luck
Yeah.
And probably they was ex-special forces, by the way the shots were out.
Yeah.
What is your position in making more armed police? I'm not saying all the police, but more units carrying firearms.
We need a dedicated unit. We need a dedicated unit that could carry firearms. I don't want to see all our police armed. On several occasions now, they've had the opportunity to carry weapons and there have been catastrophes. We're not a gun country, a gun-touting country, but we must have a section of specialist forces who patrol London continuously now. We're living in a different environment, a totally different environment, and we have to be ready, willing and able to defend ourselves. So I don't want to see a defenceless London, because London has changed the environment, and it's changed because of the masses of immigration that's come in. It's nothing, as I said, so proud to be an immigrant myself. But you're coming to England. You're coming to England. Let's get it on. Let's integrate. Let's get into the system. Let's do the things that English people do. And I say to all and sundry, if you want to come to England and kill and maim, forget it. We are a civilized country. And we should understand that if you bring people in from war-torn countries who've had no idea or no respect for life, or since you were 3 or 4 years old you were holding a gun, killing people, you can only carry on that assault when you move to a Western land. So it's no good the government and all and sundry saying crime is rising. It will continue to rise. There'll continue to be more catastrophes. And all we're doing, basically, is just turning the other cheek. Because you have to monitor the amount and type of people coming into the country. Otherwise you've got a catastrophe.
I think you're very right. What concerns me is the way, if I was the nicest general, the way they're getting the poor refugees forced into boats, getting their own men into this country and all of Europe. I think one day all Europe will be on the same day, not the same time, but the same day. And I think we don't know what goes on at the copper meetings, of course, but I do believe one day Europe is going to pay a very heavy price.
Well,
I believe security.
Thank you. I mean, I believe that as well. As far as I'm concerned, my personal opinion, Germany have never forgotten that they lost the war. Britain won the war. We won. Angela Merkel, we won. Just get over it and let's get on. We've got masses of people coming in, moving all over Europe. There's nothing can be done about it. You can't police it, you can't stop it. The boats that are coming, people landing on all different shores, the whole of Europe now is on the move. The world's moving population has changed everything. It doesn't matter what you do, you can't stop it. But what you can do is equip yourself. And equip yourself in terms of looking at priorities. Mr. McKenzie, how are we going to cut down on crime? How are we going to this? How are we going to do that? Priorities. You have to prioritize. And our priorities should be our safety. My motto for this London, my challenge to become Mayor of London will be make London safe again. That is what I will prioritise. People don't want to walk the streets of London now. Even on a Saturday night, coming back 10 o'clock, you say to your daughter or your son, be careful. That's all you can say, because you don't know if they're going to return. There never used to be a time when we thought that. And now it doesn't just apply to London. London has to set the example. The world has to see that London, the most amazing trading centre, the most financial capital of the world. We are the financial capital of the world. The world has to get the message. We have to put that message out there. But the current crop we've got, it's not that they're not listening. We're not telling them. We need to put some oil in the ointment and upset things. And that's what it's all about. Getting the word out. Anyone else got any questions you want to ask me?
Say, first of all, everything you said, your passion, your message is absolutely unbelievable. Really, I can get behind it 100%. And I think if you get that message out to everyone in London, they will get behind that 100%. However, the one question I have is, you mentioned about providing an alternative to the two major parties. And the difficulty will be getting your message out there to those parties with the media backing those two major parties. My question to you is, do you have a plan to publicise your message?
As I said, fortunately, this time around, I've stood for mayor on 2 occasions now. This time around, I have the financial backing now. Things have been very tight up until today, but it was only 2 or 3 days ago. I got an amazing phone call, and we're due to meet again tonight. And you have to have a plan. My father always taught me, a man without a plan is going nowhere. If you live in your home and you're going to, he used to say to my sister, Beverly, don't walk the street like that again. Put on a nice dress. Put on your lipstick. Look good. If you're just going down the road to the bottom of the shop, perception, how you look when you get to that shop, dictates the way you're living. So I would say to you that my plan is simple. I want to see London return to greatness. The only way that's going to happen is for a patriotic mayor to be in charge. Large as I am, and in charge. Because that's the attitude you have to put over. Give the people a sense of confidence. A sense of, I don't know, he can do this. I want to get behind this guy. So, that's how I see it. It's up, we've got all the answers, but we have to find the right leaders. Currently, we're lacking in that department. I'll take one more question. No more questions? Okay.
Do you want to comment on Grenfell? The Grenfell disaster.
Well, that's the Grenfell disaster is hardly worth talking about. It's painful. We all felt the dismay, the distress, and it was a typical example, the Grenfell disaster, of the rich and the poor, disenfranchised, disconnected, let them burn. That was my vision of Grenfell. I cried tears. I could not believe it, like many of you. If you didn't feel what happened at Grenfell, then you can't be human. Because in my lifetime, I've grown up, we wasn't poor. My dad worked very hard. He died 2 years ago now. He worked very hard, very noble man. We weren't poor, we didn't beg for anything. I beg more now as an adult, commercially, than I did when I was at home. You know, but then, that's a different type. That's a different kind of begging. It's called sponsorship. That's a respectable word for it, you know. But with Grenfell proved to me that it was no longer about colour or creed. Grenfell proved to me that it was class. It was, how much money have you got? Are you worth saving? That's what that proved to me. Because you've got to remember now, it's not about black and white anymore. You know, you haven't got the black-white racism anymore. It's still there, subtle, but we are now multiracial. So people can't stand up and say, when I was in UKIP, people used to say, how could you be in UKIP? They're racist, aren't they? Maybe, but I had an agenda. My agenda was to learn. Mix and mingle with people, regardless of colour or creed. I had an idea. And that idea is standing right here in front of you now. It takes a brave man to do all this. You have to have the bottle. You have to have the will, the desire, the want. I've read a lot about this lady here, sitting here, Deborah Kelly. And I met Deborah at a judging beauty pageant. And I thought, oh, pretty face. And I spoke to her, very quiet and subtle. Didn't have much to say. I thought, oh, stuck up, here we go. And no, I'm telling you now. And I went away, done my studies, as you do when you're in politics. You've got to look people up, see what they're all about. And I was amazed, Deborah. And I'd just like to say, well done, and we're going to hear a bit more from you later on. I'm very amazed at how hard you've worked, and you've been rewarded for it many times. So it just shows you that if you've got that will and desire to make things happen, they will. They will.
Well,
okay.
Thank you very much, Winston. And
thanks a lot. Thank you very much. We'll have a short coffee break now, and then we'll resume just after that. Who have we got on the list next?
yes, we've got Dr. Mark Prince, who's arrived, and Deborah.
And Dr. Mark Prince will be addressing you after coffee break. If you remember, Mark Prince lost his young 15-year-old son to knife crime, and he's still now today trying to avert this situation with regard to knife crime, which is a very prevalent thing in our society today. So Mark Prince will be addressing us very shortly after coffee break. Okay, so we have a short break now. Thank you very much.